give you guys a little update on Project Dark Horse. Let me get you turned around. So, as you can tell, we got some front wheel action going on. That just came in the mail literally about 2 hours ago. I just spent a little bit of time with some steel wool, just kind of knocked some corrosion off of it, and got that installed. And it really helps me out figuring out the ride height of the bike. I don't know anybody that was following. I had an issue with. All right, first off, I had the bike outside, and looking from the rear of the bike, I realized that the engine was favoring the right side of the bike, and I wanted it, aesthetically, I wanted the engine sitting as centered as possible. And I had already tack welded this engine support. I was tack welded there in the front, and the engine mount right there was welded pretty good. But after I realized that the engine was sitting too far to the right, I ended up having to cut all of my tack welds that I had. But I also realized the fuel pump sits way down there, and it was actually hitting the frame rail on the bottom. That's why the engine was favoring the right side so much, because I was already up against this frame. So when I took all this out, I don't know if you can see it, but up here in the front, I've actually I had to cut and extend the frame rails up here by about 1.5 inches. So it pushes this rail down a little bit more so I could actually get it under that fuel pump there. So also when I change the geometry up here, the geometry back here changes as well. So I actually had to cut about a 1/2 inch section out of the back here and re-weld those. That's just kind of nature of the beast. Anything that I do up here is going to reflect anything goes on back here. Same goes with these rails. I had these rails bent, but I was having some clearance issues where the stator vane rings, they were hitting on this side. And because the engine was also favoring the right side at the same time, I was having clearance issues on the opposite side as well. So to fix that, I took these two frame rails out, put them back in the bender, and just made a little more aggressive bend up here. So what that does is it actually kicks this whole section of the rail out away from the engine, just enough where I've got. I'll show you here. I've got pretty decent little amount of clearance here, and this is in like the most extreme scenario. This is stator vanes all the way closed. So when we go to spool up the engine, if these were to go back in their forward position without pinching the shit out of my fingers, you'll notice like these will they rotate upwards on this side. Stands to reason they probably rotate down on the other side, but I've got enough clearance regardless on both sides that I don't have any interference there, and we are definitely cleared on the fuel pump now. I've just got this sitting in here under the engine, just prop the engine up. Now, because what I can do, this is just laying in there. Next time I get the bike outside, I can pick this frame rail up. I can hit that weld first. That's the most critical one. I hit this weld first. That brings the bar up. Then I can tack the front. Once the front's tacked, then I can come back here. This will be my last tack. There's a kind of an order of operations. I have to do this. Once that's done, and I got to repeat that on the opposite side. what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. Once I get these all welded in, except for the tops here, I've got a section. I actually have kind of like these tube disconnects. I've got a pair of those coming in. Um, I'm gonna cut out a section here and integrate those tube disconnects. And what that'll do is disconnect here, down there, and up here. And I can actually peel away the whole bike off of the engine, and the engine will actually sit in the lower frame rails. It'll be like a kind of a makeshift cradle, like an engine stand. Pretty neat idea. Make working on this a lot easier. Some other little issues I'm trying to iron out. I've noticed that I've got a lot of play in the swing arm still, and it has everything to do with these bushings. The one on the right side is completely deteriorated. Now I've got a lot of play, so I've got to anything that's rubber, all the rubber little isolators, bushings. I'm gonna have to like redesign those, and they're gonna have to be machined out of probably machine them out of stainless. That or I'm gonna have to redesign how the swing arm is mounted to the frame of the bike. I was thinking about like those pillow, I think they call them pillow blocks, but I think even those have rubber isolators in them, and the heat is just going to tear them up, so that's not going to work. Um, if you got any ideas, put it down in the comments. I'll be reading them. Next thing, I've got a valve stem coming in Tuesday, I think. Once I get that valve stem in, eventually, probably not this week or next week. I got to take a break on spending money. Like I am tapped out. Um, I got to get a back tire for this and either get some springs just to temporarily kind of get the bike on its own two wheels, or I can go ahead and fabricate the struts I kept talking about. Uh, but that's all depending on the swing arm situation because I was looking at some other swing arms on like other bikes, and I've got some other ideas kind of floating around in my head for maybe like a what do they call like a mono spring mono strut setup. So I get rid of the two springs on the outsides because that's going to help me bring my exhaust pipes closer to the bike, make it a little narrower, but also the springs won't be so close to the afterburners. I mean, regardless, this is all going to be uh, Dante's Inferno to begin with, but um, if I had like a mono strut in there, that would be nice. I'd hate to have a completely rigid frame because that'll make like for a really rough ride. But I mean, we're only gonna zip down, runways and drag strips, so it won't be that much of an issue. Uh, anyway, going back to like when I was talking about the clearance under the bike. Normally, when I have the bike sitting on the stand, I knew that the wheel was it's a 19-inch wheel, so half of that's 9.5. So I would just measure from the floor up 9.5 inches, and that's kind of where I would set the bike because I wasn't sure the uh, the tire thickness, how with actually having a tire on the rim, how much higher it would sit the bike, and it's come out perfect. That's actually a really good ride height. Of course, we'll get this one figured out once we get some springs. Um, I'm working on some other little projects. This tank here, the airbox cover. This isn't going to be the one that I'm going to use. The one I really want is it's got kind of like a recess in the top, and there's a little area up here where the gauges, stock gauges, normally go. I'd like to get that cover integrate the bezel and everything, but I'm also working on some LCD gauges. I'll have a whole video how I went about doing that as soon as I finish figuring out how to do it. Also, I can finish the brakes. I got to get calipers up here, and then I can start running some brake lines. I got the caliper on back here, but everything's just kind of temporarily mounted. Everything's going to have to come back off when I go to put that tire back on. Then I can button everything up. This has got to get trimmed. I got to trim off some excess, get this thing welded in. Another issue, big issue coming up. In order to get that fuel pump to clear the bottom rails, aside from lowering the rail, I had to pick the engine up. It's sitting up a little higher than I originally thought. So when I go to put that third stage nozzle, this nozzle here is only about maybe 12.5 inches diameter. The third stage goes all the way up to 16 inches diameter. And that's on the outside flanges. So it's definitely going to hit the frame. So what I'm going to have to start planning, maybe like a 45-degree bend up and another 45 over, 45 down. That gives me kind of like, I wouldn't call it like a C channel, but it definitely gives me about, I can get like a 2 or 3 inch offset and then bring it back down, tie it back into the frame there. That'll buy me some more room for third stage nozzle. And then of course I got to start figuring out the Y split into 2 8-inch pipes. But I just wanted to take a moment, give you guys a little update. This thing looking sick. I love that stance. That's exactly what I wanted. But anywho's, as always, if you like the build, want to keep following, be sure to like and subscribe. And also, somewhere in here, I'm trying to figure out how to tie in some of my older videos, make it a little more convenient to check out some of the previous videos, how I started the project. But all right, catch y'all later.